The Hoka Bondi X promised to bring carbon plate technology running to all, whatever that might mean. With a 40mm stack, a carbon plate, of course, soft EVA foam that Hoka is known for, this seems like it would be a promising carbon-plated option. But because of that high stack height and all that cushion, the shoe comes in at 10.2 ounces, which is crazy high for a carbon-plated shoe. It's also $214, which probably leaves you asking the question, is the Hoka Bondi X really worth it? And my bigger question is, who is this shoe for? So I initially picked up the Hoka Bondi X as an option to wear in the 2022 JFK 50 miler that I have coming up in a few weeks. I saw some finishers in previous years wearing the shoe, so I figured it might be a good move. Let's talk about the good things first. According to the description on Running Warehouse, this shoe was designed as a daily trainer, which was kind of a surprise to me. I don't think most people are out there wearing carbon-plated shoes, let alone $215 carbon-plated shoes as a daily trainer, but that is how the shoe is described. It's not how I would use it personally. I should disclaim here really quickly because I sound like I'm being very negative. I love Hoka. I wear almost exclusively Hokas. Actually, I have worn completely exclusively Hokas for the last 2 to 3 years. So I really dig Hokas. I think they make a great shoe. And the Hoka Bondi X is not all bad. In fact, it's not even mostly bad. Let's talk about a couple of the good things right now. So in spite of that 10.2 to 11 ounce weight, I didn't feel like the shoe was overly heavy. I took it on a couple of 20+ mile runs, and frankly, I was very impressed with the responsiveness of the shoe. That meta rocker geometry that Hoka offers really does offer some nice springiness. It feels like a very fast shoe. It's also nice to have a carbon-plated option from Hoka that offers some nice tread underneath. So if you're running in wet weather and you're looking for a Hoka carbon option, that might be something that you are interested in. It also feels very durable, especially in comparison to some of the tread on some other Hoka shoes that I have experienced. Sometimes that wears very quickly. So I was happy to see that. This is a 60-mile shoe at this point. I've done 60 to 70 miles in this shoe, and you can see it still held up pretty well. The lockdown on the shoe feels pretty good. I never felt my heel slipping. And overall, it feels slightly wider than some of the other Hoka shoes. They run pretty narrow typically, and it was nice to have that extra space, especially in a shoe that is cushioned as much as this one is, because you're probably gonna be taking it on some longer distances. So I did test this out on some light trail usage, and it performed pretty well. That additional rubber underneath your toe and on your heel, on the outsole there, did seem to help with that trail usage. But unfortunately, there are also quite a few bad things about this shoe. Starting off, because of how high the stack is, I really wasn't able to get like my feet underneath me. You know, I felt like I was learning to walk again a little bit, and this is not something I've experienced on other Hoka high stack carbon shoes. I've owned Carbon X's twice now, and I love that shoe, which also features, I believe, a 40mm stack. I'm not sure why that was the case, but I did have a hard time finding my sea legs, so to speak, on this shoe personally. I also had major issues with this little tongue right here. So for me, what was happening when I tied this shoe onto my foot using that nice little runner's tie-up thing that we all love to do so much, is basically that the laces were not able to stay over this tongue, so it was cutting into my foot pretty consistently. It's not an issue that I have seen other reviewers bring up, but I don't think that this is thick enough, which is definitely a weight-saving measure, which they need to be saving weight on this very heavy shoe anywhere they can. But unfortunately, because it's gusseted, so it doesn't come up like enough, in my opinion, it ended up cutting into my foot every single time I wore it, except for one. Again, if you don't use this tie-up style, then it's probably not gonna be an issue for you. I guess I can't say for sure. But for me, there was no way really to get the laces consistently to stay on top of this so that it wasn't slicing my foot open while I ran. On that note, and again, this is maybe more of a personal gripe, maybe other people aren't having this issue a ton, but I was getting a lot of hot spots with this shoe, and this is something that I have never experienced in a Hoka shoe before. I think it was mostly because of the heel cup. It is a pretty sturdy heel cup, so again, if you like a sturdy heel cup, that's gonna be great for you. But for me, it just ended up, no matter what sock I was wearing, no matter the distance, I would say after about 5 miles, I would start to get hot spots right along here, here, or again, right underneath where the laces were, which is obviously less than ideal. The upper of the shoe feels pretty nice and lightweight, and you can definitely tell how cushioned the shoe is. I felt like my recovery times were shorter with the shoe, and I would leave long runs feeling a little bit less sore because of that high cushion. I was actually pretty impressed with the way the shoe performed on trails. I never felt any slipping and sliding on the California desert dirt we got out here that basically never gets wet, and that is usually a problem. My biggest issue with this shoe, again, comes back to that question, is I don't know who this shoe is for. Because Hoka makes shoes like the Carbon X and the Rocket X, both of which feature a carbon plate, high stacks, meant for comfort and speed, I'm not really sure where the Bondi fits in, especially when it's significantly more expensive than a lot of the other carbon options. It's $215. You can still get the Carbon X2, and in some places the Carbon X for as low as like $118. I saw an option in a Carbon X at REI. Now, of course, that's a cherry-picked example. You're probably gonna have to go with an X2 or an X3 realistically, but those are also still significantly cheaper. Because of the fact that 3 out of the 4 runs for a total of around 60 miles that I did in this shoe, I ended up with skin rubbing off and blisters. I just can't rely on it personally. And in terms of the way Hoka's marketing the shoe, I can't really think of a reason why someone would use this as a daily trainer, unless you got bukus and the shoe does fit you well. And if it does, then I wish you all the best, because I am sort of an outlier. If you look at consumer reviews of this shoe, it does rate very highly. But if you live in a dry climate and you are mostly sticking to roads, I would probably go with one of Hoka's other carbon plated options personally. If you liked this shoe review, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you can know when I do another, and let me know how these can be more helpful to you. I'm still just starting this thing out. I run a lot and I want to be able to pass on information to you guys. So let me know what you're looking to know out of shoe reviews, and I will see if I can incorporate it in. Thanks for watching, you guys, and we'll see you next time.